This is an interesting concept that I want to introduce to you guys and get your thoughts on. I think there's some potential here, and I haven't seen anything else like it before. We're talking about the GoSafe magazines that are lockable, coming up next on GBGuns. The Glock pattern has been out for a long time, so long in fact that it went past patent expiration, and now we have wonderful Glock-based builds from mild to wild, affordable to fancy, like the Palmetto State Armory Dagger. We've got the Lone Wolf Arms Dusk 19, pretty neat one, and of course the Bull Armory Axe series of guns. Also in the last 30 years or so, the aftermarket has gone wild with magazines, and there's plenty of magazines. These are just 8 of our multi-mag tests that we use whenever we're doing a Glock magazine compatible pistol. So I'm always on the lookout for a new Glock magazine pattern. I got approached by these folks at GoSafe, and no, this is not a sponsored video. Yes, they sent this for me to play with it, but as always, I don't accept a penny from companies. I get my joy out of helping folks understand what all is out there, where it might be useful and where not. So, what is the GoSafe magazine? How does it work, and what's the point? The idea behind these is pretty interesting. So, it's a magazine. You do have a reduced capacity. This is a 10-rounder, largely because there's a lot of mechanism in here. See that flag open up? These are uniquely keyed. Each one has its own specific key. You do get a tag number in case you need to get an additional key. And here's how this works. The instructions say to do it with the slide lock to the rear. It will work with the slide lock closed. I'm sure any of you with half a brain cell understand why they want you to do it with the slide lock to the rear. Insert the magazine, lock, take the key. Trigger is now dead. The magazine won't come out. On the magazine version, there's another one I'll show you in a moment, you can still rack the slide and look inside, but this firearm is ineffective, just a very expensive paperweight. This other version is a blank. Insert, close the slide. Now this is something I noticed on some of mine. I don't have any 100% factory Glocks anymore, and these derivatives certainly aren't, but if I do it with a closed slide, put that in there, lock it, and pull out the key, dead trigger, and I can't rack the slide. This gun is locked up tight. So 2 different options. One of them still gives you capacity and can be used. Yes, I know for those of us in free states, we look at a 10-round magazine and we say, eh. But for the rest of America, it works, and 10 rounds is better than no rounds. So what I'm curious to hear from you guys is where you see an application for this. One idea that came to mind in trying to research this and think about different applications would be a bedside gun. If you're like us and you've got a bedside gun that needs to be readily available, now how you secure your firearms is totally up to you, whether or not you have kids in the house, other people in the house, you have friends over, etc. These are all individual life differences. But let's run through how you can secure a firearm. You can, of course, cable lock it. That's a fuss, and the gun's disabled and not secured. You can put it in a safe. Big, nice safe in the garage or somewhere locked away. However, that's not a gun you can readily get to. So chances are you're like me and you have a firearm that is readily accessible without needing to fuss with a safe. Even the digital ones that are quick, they still make noises, things like that. I like to be able to just grab something. While that gun is accessible, it's accessible to people other than myself. There could be an argument for disabling that during, say, the day, and at night before you go to bed, as you're setting your alarm for the day and setting all those things up, you unlock it, get your firearm back as a functional gun. I did that trigger just to demonstrate that once it's unlocked, it works like a regular magazine. Of course, that's not what you do in the evening. The point being, it gives you the option to lock or unlock. It won't lock with the trigger already tripped, so if I reset the trigger, lock it, and now I'm back to secured firearm. I can still check the status of it, but nothing can be done with it. It's an interesting concept. I think there are applications for this. I don't think it's going to appeal to everyone, but I've taken the responsibility of having a channel like this and having the website beyond just what I like or what applies to me, to also include things that I think folks should know about as options. These are less expensive than a safe. They're quieter than a safe. In some ways more secure because of these super complex star pattern keys. And they're more portable. Another thought that came to mind, if any of you ever have to go into a post office, or depending on your state, a school, sheriff's department, courthouse, things like that, and you're like me and you carry everywhere you go, there are some times and places where you are not supposed to carry, and you know you're going to go through a metal detector, and you know you need to set that firearm down. Now, securing the firearm in your vehicle, of course, is its own thing. I hate it. I think it's a terrible idea to leave a gun in a car, but something like this at least ensures you that if anyone gets a hold of that gun while you are running your errand before you get back to the car, that it is non-functional. It doesn't replace a safe. It does replace a standard lock, but it's something that can go with you. A GoSafe, if you will. Almost like they were kind of clever in their naming of the product. If I lived in a 10-round limit state, I think I would be more interested in this. However, the idea of being able to secure a firearm from unauthorized use without having to physically secure the firearm behind some barriers definitely has some appeal to it. And the idea of just making an absolute dead locked up gun till unlocked, I think is pretty cool. If everything goes as planned, you can look for the GoSafe in any future Glock magazine compatible firearms that we use. That would be the pistols themselves, of course. The way this mechanism works, and I'll show you. And it's part of why you lose capacity. So she'll left the key in there. There's this little arm that swings out. And I believe that is acting on the trigger bar in there to prevent anything from moving. You also have a nice little detent on the back end that is popping out so that you can feel the status of it. I did notice that the key has to be oriented in the direction you're taking it from. Currently it's in fire mode, so I got to put the key tag in there and turn it to safe and remove it. It's now locked. I cannot put the key back in at fire and have it do anything. I've got to put it in at safe and turn it to fire. So it has to be very deliberate. I could see some law enforcement and perhaps security offices that are trying to cut back on liability or be very cautious with their liability wanting a device like this, so that it is a conscious decision. As a soldier who deployed to both Afghanistan and Iraq, I saw complacency hit guys with the safety of their firearm. Yet another deliberate step, both mentally and physically, of transitioning a firearm from heavy paperweight to lethal tool. I think there's application for that, especially for the reason why I said law enforcement and security folks is lethal tools are not the primary part of their job. It's an accessory to their job. And so as we've seen in news reports, a lot of law enforcement officers or uniformed security personnel end up having major safety issues, and you end up with poor shooting. And I don't think a dig on them, considering all the other things that they have to master and know as part of their job and the limited amount of training they get. It's just the nature of things. So maybe something that is another physical and psychological change would make a difference. Now, law enforcement personnel, of course, don't have to obey the unconstitutional laws that limit them to 10 rounds in those 10-round states. Maybe GoSafe will come out with a bigger mag with higher capacity for those. I don't know. This is all just early phase. But that's GoSafe mag and mag blank. It's basically just locks your gun entirely. Cool concept, something different, something we haven't seen before. I would love to hear your ideas. What do you think about this? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.